It's Football Friday, and it is time for our college football portion of the day. Numerous big games all across the country this weekend. A lot of ranked teams playing against each other. I want to start, though, with the one team that isn't, the one game that doesn't have two ranked teams playing against each other that stuck out to me, and that's Cal at USC. USC sort of came out last weekend and laid an egg. I don't want to take anything away from Stanford, though, because that Stanford defensive line and pass rush was just tenacious. I was watching highlights of it yesterday, and, man, they were just beating up on Matt Barkley, like to the point where he was nervous behind his offensive line. He did not trust his offensive line. Like, he was throwing the ball before he should have thrown the ball. When he had time, he was getting rid of it too soon. And I feel like every time USC and Cal play, it's always an interesting game. I don't really feel like USC ever really rolls over Cal.
I think this week they could, though. I think they have to come out and make a statement after last week's loss. I could see Barkley coming in and putting up some huge numbers this week, and the offense just going wild. They have to. It's the only way to keep their title hopes alive is they have to roll everybody from here on out.
They do.
Including they're going to have to beat Oregon twice.
I know exactly what you mean by that. By losing to Stanford, even though it was on the road, they were ranked number 1 in the preseason poll and rode number 2 after week 1 and rode number 2 after week 2. And then they laid the egg against Stanford, which was still a good game. I mean, they lost by 1 touchdown. It's not like they got blown away, but they were dominated, and that's the problem.
They were dominated by a team that was ranked a lot lower. They were number 2 in the country with everybody saying that they were making it to the championship. So everybody was saying it.
Yeah, so this weekend's game is the 100th time these two teams have met. The only other news that you got out of USC this weekend was Lane Kiffin running away from the media when talking about his returning center. I actually have the guy's name written down. I'm sorry. Khaled Holmes, their returning center, expected to play this weekend. And for those of you that are basic football fans, the center is a very important aspect of your offensive line. But at the same time, I don't think I've ever seen a offensive lineman that's not important to the entire offensive line. They're a unit. They're meant to work together as 5 guys. Losing your center, I mean, you lose your signal caller on the offensive line. But one way or another, it is a big deal. But come on, you guys, I was still surprised with what that offensive line did last weekend against Stanford. So when you look at this game, it's a game where you got to sit there and say to yourself, they're pretty close to evenly matched, believe it or not. Cal actually ranks higher in total yards per game. They do trail in passing yards, but are dominant in rushing yards. They actually, through 3 games, have outrushed South Carolina by 87 yards a game. They're only averaging 1 point less a game than Southern Cal. So, I mean, even though you're looking at them talent-wise and in the rankings, statistically, at least on the offensive side of the ball, from what I'm looking at, Cal could almost be considered the better team. They only trail, like I said, only 1 less point per game, but they average more yards a game. They average more rushing yards a game, so they can control the clock. Matt Barkley, what do you do when you play against a good quarterback? You try to keep him off the damn field. You see it all the time in the NFL. You play a good quarterback, you want to run the ball, keep him off the field. So I'm assuming that would be the way Cal's going to approach this game. I don't know about you, though. I still like USC at home. I just think that after last week's performance, you get the center back, Khaled, and then being at home, I think that those things all added up together are just going to lead to a USC win. But I think
USC dominates this week. And I understand what you're saying with the stats actually almost favoring in Cal's favor. And maybe they can control the clock a little bit, but I just think that when Matt Barkley hits the field, I think this week they come out and make a statement. They have to. You can't back up a loss like that last week, and come out this week flat.
Yeah, you need.
I think they're going to come out and be explosive. I could see the receivers Lee and Woods. Is it
on USC?
Yeah, from USC, just going wild. I really see a good game in Barkley's future.
Yeah, Lee and Woods, yeah. Through 3 games, they've combined for 49 catches, 536 yards, and 8 touchdowns through 3 games. Now, it seems that you really look at this game, and I really just think this is going to be a much better game than people think it might be. Cal's 1-2, USC 2-1, ranked 13th. So, any which way, let's move on to our next game. Now, I don't know what games, if you picked any games or...
Well, the one, I know you had picked, like 6 games, so I just figured we would go with what you had picked out.
Okay.
I know the one game that we had both marked down, though, was Notre Dame, Michigan.
Yeah, so why don't we...
I think that's going to be a good game.
Let's chat about them for a little bit.
Yeah,
Notre Dame, Michigan.
I think it'll be different than when they played Michigan State. I think Denard Robinson's a totally different type of player than what Notre Dame's seen so far. But Notre Dame's defense looks good.
Really good.
And
what they did to Michigan State last weekend?
I'm actually going to pick Notre Dame this weekend. I didn't do that last week. Last week I had Michigan State, but Notre Dame really impressed me last week. They really played well. On both sides of the ball, pretty much. They won 20-3. They scored, they held them, and Denard Robinson, like I said, is a different type of player. He can run, he can throw, he can do a lot of different things. He's shifty. I could see him having some success, but I think Notre Dame's defense in the end does enough to hold him at bay and win the game.
Robinson has averaged 180 and a half yards per game against the Irish in the last 2 seasons. He's on pace, even though after the rough game with Alabama, he's still on pace to break 1,000 yards rushing. That's their quarterback. One of the big things that you might want to pay attention to in this game if you're going to watch it is performance in the red zone. Now I am cheating. I will tell you guys I am taking what I'm about to say to you from ESPN, so I do not want to sit here and act like it's my information that I'm giving you. This is from ESPN's research notes, stats, and info. Through 3 games last season, Notre Dame led the FBS with 5 red zone turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 2 fumbles. This year, the Irish are doing a much better job. They only have thrown 1 interception in 15 red zone drives, while Michigan themselves have not forced a single turnover in the red zone in the 12 times that they've had to play red zone defense. They've also allowed opponents to score on 83.3% of red zone chances. So based on reading that, it sounds like you have a team that's playing really well in the red zone offensively, going against a defense that hasn't played very well so far this season in the red zone. Now, obviously, this is based on what you've seen, but like we mentioned with the Cal USC game, what you've seen so far really doesn't mean too much for what you might see this weekend. I think this is going to be a great game. I actually agree with Eric on the fact that even though Denard Robinson is a freak, I think Notre Dame's defense is looking good enough that they could be able to stop this guy. And I don't know. I feel like this is a coin flip game. I don't know about you.
A coin flip?
I could see it going either way. I really could.
Well, who's your pick?
Me personally, I like Notre Dame at home. They're looking for their first 4-0 start since 2002.
I think they get it. I'm taking Notre Dame as well. I think they find a way to beat Michigan. I could see it being a 20-17 game.
Okay, I could see something close like that. Yeah.
Even I could see, a score close to that. I think that it's not going to be a shootout. And I don't think Notre Dame can handle a shootout. I don't think they want to get into a shootout, but I think their defense can do enough to hold Robinson.
Well, they've only given up 30 points in 3 games so far, so that's 10 points a game. In college football, that's pretty damn good. Now, that includes playing Michigan State, who, when they played them, was ranked, 11th when they played Michigan State last week. Now, Notre Dame's ranked 11, which is actually their highest ranking since they were also ranked 11th back in 2006. They ended up losing to LSU in the Sugar Bowl that year. Last time the Irish started 4-0, they actually ended up starting that season 8-0 that year in 2002. And now this is actually sort of cool to me, but at the same time, when I read this, I was so surprised. Denard Robinson only needs 191 yards to become Michigan's all-time career total offensive yardage leader. Do you know who he will pass?
He will pass.
This shocked me.
Shocked you.
Shocked me. Guy's in the NFL, but's done nothing. That might help.
But done nothing?
But pretty much have done nothing. Started a couple games.
Chad Henne?
Yep. I figured as soon as I said started a couple games, now you know it's a quarterback. I figured that would narrow it down. So Chad Henne.
Well,
I was very surprised by that. I mean, I've never been the biggest follower of college football, especially Michigan, but Chad Henne, that one's really surprised the hell out of me. I was sort of blown away on that one. So yeah, he's 191 yards away from passing Chad Henne for the all-time career total offensive yardage leader in Michigan. So even if he doesn't do it this weekend, you know he'll do it before the season is out. This is the second of 4 ranked opponents Notre Dame will play in their next 6 games. Between last week, if you include this week, in a stretch of 6 games, they have 4 ranked opponents on their schedule. This is their second one. They play number 9 Stanford and number 6 Oklahoma in October. And Michigan leads this all-time series 23-15-1. But we believe here on Sports Zone that Notre Dame's going to take this one in Notre Dame. So I got a couple other games to look at. Probably not as much time invested in all of these. What I want to do is I'd rather jump into the one that I wouldn't mind talking about for a couple minutes, and that's number 22 Arizona at number 3 Oregon. Could be a very interesting game. Oregon's ranked right now 5th in the FBS in scoring, averaging 54 points a game, and 7th in total offense, averaging a little under 600 yards a game. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a show right there. That's what you watch when you're putting up that kind of points.
Most is from the running back Thomas too.
DeAnthony Thomas. Total 222 all-purpose yards on only 10 touches last week, and scored 2 touchdowns against Texas Tech. That's just crazy. 10 touches, 222 yards. Could you imagine that on your fantasy team? I'd be like, somebody get him 20 touches, please. Oregon has won 15 of its last 18 games against Arizona, including 8 of 9 at home. But Arizona this year, compared to many years in the past, people think might, I want to accent the word might, be able to keep up with the Oregon offense. Their quarterback, Matt Scott, has played really well so far this year, completed 30 of 36 passes for 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. No turnovers last weekend. He has 7 touchdowns and only 1 interception on the season. So I guess it rides on the shoulder of Matt Scott to see if this offense can keep up with Oregon, because I don't care what defensive game plan you really got. I think Oregon's going to have a freaking
Oregon
great
just
game.
Puts up big-time numbers offensively. That's what they do. They like shootouts. They like the running gun. They like fast-paced offense.
And you know what? If as a fan, especially in college football, how could you not? It's fun. It's entertaining. I mean, in college football, you don't really watch college football to watch a 15-play, 9-minute drive, with 10 first downs. You don't really watch college football for that. You watch college football for the explosions.
Now, see, that's the difference between your college football and my college football. Because at Alabama, we love defense. Love it. Number 1 defense in the country. That's just what we do.
All right, but either way, if you
top
guys
5, I should say.
If you guys couldn't score 30-something points a game, your team would be a little more boring to watch. That's all I'm trying to say. Alabama's
boring
Alabama.
For you as a non-fan, as just a
casual fan. Fair enough.
As an Alabama fan like myself, I love it. Like, I loved shutting out LSU in the championship game.
Yeah, fair enough.
That to me was like the ultimate. I didn't want them to score.
Almost like winning a Super Bowl.
It really is.
What I will say, maybe to back up my comment more, is the fact that all college season long, you see these games broadcasted on national television that are just such one-sided matchups before you even go into the game. Like, you wrote the schedule and you already knew it was a one-sided matchup. Like this week, Alabama plays, Florida International?
Yeah.
Come on.
By the way, I don't know why they would do this. Why you would stir them up. But for whatever reason, DN from Florida Atlantic decided to say that Alabama can be beat. Give them a little bulletin board material. I don't think that's what you want to do to a defense and to a team like that, is give them any type of bulletin board material. Don't say anything. Maybe have confidence in yourself, but don't go out there running your mouth. Just don't do it. That's my point. You're Florida Atlantic. You're not anybody special. You're lucky to get this game.
You're not anybody special. You're Florida Atlantic. You're lucky you're going to get on television. But that's really more what I meant by that, is that they schedule these games for international, national televised games, and it's going to be 49-3, 56-10. Like, it's going to be like that. And that's what I mean by that, is the fact that they know they can put those games on, because as long as you're a fan of the team that's on, you don't care how the game goes. And the average fan doesn't mind watching a team score 56 points, because it can be a lot of fun to watch. But either way, this should be a fun matchup. This could be high scoring. Oregon right now is 44-9 over the last 4 full seasons, but they've only opened up 4-0 just once in that stretch during 2010, when they ended up going 12-0 before they lost to Auburn in the national championship game. So this one should be a lot of fun to watch as well. I think this one could be good. I still think Oregon's going to win by probably 2 touchdowns, but I think it should be fun to watch, at least up until about the midway through the third, maybe early fourth quarter. At least that's what I think.
I got Oregon myself, so I just think they keep. Do you
think I'm far stretched by saying by 2 touchdowns? Do you think that's a far stretch?
I don't think it's far stretched, but again, with the way Arizona's surprised people so far, I also wouldn't be. Listen, I think bottom line Oregon wins, but whether it's a 1-score game or a 2-score game, I mean, it could go either way. It could be a 14-point game. It could be a 7-point game, although I see it more like you see it, leaning towards the 14 points.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on with this game, but I think I got 2 other games to touch on. We've got 12 minutes, I got 3 games to touch on. We've got no more than about 10 minutes to do it. So I'm going to pretty much read what I got written down for these, grab your reaction, and we'll move on to the next one instead of just going back and forth. If anything, we'll focus on Clemson, Florida State for a couple minutes. But LSU, Auburn, SEC matchup. Obviously, you being a Roll Tide fan, you would love to see both teams lose.
I got LSU winning. I just think they're too tough. One of the best teams out there. I don't think that Auburn has enough to beat them this year.
Well, to show you how good LSU is, they've outscored their first 3 opponents 145-31. That's just sickening. Their backup running backs, Kenny Hilliard and Jeremy Hill, last week combined for 177 yards and ran for 2 touchdowns apiece. Hilliard gained 116 of the 177. Auburn's actually off to its worst start since 2007 and is looking to avoid going to 1-3 for the first time since losing 5 of its first 6 in 1998. Wow. And Auburn has lost 5 straight to ranked competition, including a 45-10 loss to LSU at LSU on October 22nd of last year after winning 8 such matchups in a row. So I actually agree with you. I think LSU is too tough for Auburn right now. I think Auburn's trying to find their way now that Cam's gone. Obviously this is the second year he's been gone, but I still think that's what made them relevant.
Yeah, they're not the same team
Cam carried that team. Let's be serious. That's why he took the Heisman Trophy. But either which way, I like LSU as well. Let's jump down now. I got a game that some people are talking about, other people I haven't heard say anything about, and I think this could be a great game to watch. Kansas State at Oklahoma. Kansas State ranked 15, Oklahoma ranked 6th. Oklahoma is looking for their 6th straight win against K-State and have won 8 of 9 games over Kansas State. The last time they lost to Kansas State was in 2003 in the Big 12 championship game. I think the interesting matchup in this is the Kansas State pass rush against the Oklahoma offensive line. Now, everybody I heard talk about this is making this huge deal that Oklahoma's quarterback's been sacked 4 times or 5 times so far this year, and I'm like, you're 3 games in. That's like nothing. But apparently that's a big deal. So that's why I thought this was a big deal, because Kansas State has 7 sacks on the year so far. So obviously, if you're making a big deal about a guy getting hit 4 times, then apparently 7 sacks is a pretty big deal.
This could be the best matchup to watch this weekend.
I mean,
yeah, as far as score, as far as coming down to the last minute of the game, I think this could be like the most exciting fourth quarter of the weekend. I do. I think both teams are kind of evenly matched. I mean, there are, of course, other ranked matchups like we were talking about, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Florida State, Clemson. But I think this game has the potential to be the closest of those games.
Fair enough. And I like Oklahoma to come out of this, too. But I actually agree with you. I think this could be a final possession kind of game. Either Oklahoma's defense making a stand or Oklahoma having the drive to either score the winner or put the game away. Yeah. The one thing about college football I will say is you do not want to rely on your kicker to win you the game. So one thing about college football I think you can say. You don't want to have to. I don't think any team in any football sport, whether it's Pee Wee to the NFL, I don't think anybody wants to ever rely on a kicker to win the game. But in college, I think the atmospheres at these stadiums is just unmatched. And to me, being a kicker is like being a golfer. It doesn't matter where you're at. It's concentration and doing what you're supposed to do every single time. And I've always felt that looking at a kicker is very similar to looking at a guy that plays golf. And just the fact that just the slightest twist of your hip the wrong way, just the wrong, instead of a golf club at your foot, but just the slightest hit of it with the wrong angle. Just little things like that can determine winning and losing, and It just stinks. But so we both seem to like Oklahoma. We seem to be agreeing on these games, which it's cool. And then to many people, the game of the weekend is Clemson at Florida State. Clemson's ranked 10. Florida State is ranked number 4. So it's the only matchup you got between 2 top 10 teams right now. It's actually the second time that Florida State will get a chance to face a gentleman by the name of Sammy Watkins from Clemson. Last year, when they played Florida State, this man caught 7 passes for 141 yards and 2 long, I think they were each over 30-yard touchdowns in a 35-30 win for Clemson. This kid owned the game last year. And pretty much from what I was reading, this is the one guy, more than anybody, that Florida State wants to shut down, that they do not want to let beat them. And I can't blame him. You never want a wide receiver to be the guy that beats you. He's the one guy that has to get the ball past the line of scrimmage. So he's the one guy that you get to sort of see what he's doing after the snap is called, compared to the quarterback and the running back where snap's called, the guy gets the ball, off you're running. Wide receiver, you actually can box in. I think they're easier to game plan against.
Yeah.
And this kid ate him up. So obviously that's what they're going to be focusing on. But I don't know who I like in this game. From what I've watched, from what I was looking at, from what I've read, I don't know who I like in this game personally.
I like Florida State, honestly. I just think that they're going to... I could see it being not as close as other people think. I think Florida State is a really good team this year.
Yeah.
I think they're a team that if an Oregon doesn't run the table, could be in the national championship game, because I think they can run the table in the ACC. They're just too much offensively. They have a pretty good defense. I mean, last week they won 55 or 52-0. The week before,
that's just a slight.
The week before, they won 52-0 in a shortened game over Savannah State. Just really are dominating teams right now. And granted, they haven't played as good a competition as they're going to play. The best competition they played so far was the 2-0 Wake team they blew out last weekend. And I just see them kind of doing the same to Clemson. I don't think it'll be as big a blowout, but I could see a 31-17 game. Well, I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
Ironically enough, they're favored by 14.5, so that would put your 31-17 right on the dot pretty much. Both teams 3-0, Clemson's averaging 39, 40 points a game, giving up about 17 to 18 points a game, while Florida State's averaging almost 59 points a game. And through 3 games, their average points allowed, I swear to you, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to ESPN and look at this, their average points allowed per game is 1.0. That's their average points a game allowed right now.
Yeah, because I think they've only allowed 1 field goal.
So that's serious. Offense. Now, when you look at their offensive ranks, you got Florida State averaging 543 yards a game compared to 517, and I already gave you guys points scored. It looks like Clemson rather throw than run, where Florida State looks very well balanced. 279 yards a game on the ground, 267 yards a game in the air. So it looks very well balanced for Florida State, and that's a great way to attack a team. But I hate to just wrap it up because I'm sure we could get more into this.
Yeah, I think I have Florida State, though, winning this game.
Okay, and you know what? Just to disagree with you on one, I'll take Clemson.
Listen, don't disagree with me just to disagree. If you think Florida State's going to win, pick Florida State. Don't just disagree to disagree.
I'm going to disagree just to disagree. I'm going to be an ignorant human being who disagrees just to disagree because that's pretty much what ignorant people do.